The 17th devotion of John Donne in 1623 contained a poem, which I think ought to be a poem that is recited by everyone thinking about Brexit. It should have been taken to heart, even as we had the referendum. And I think that's one thought. There's a wonderful word in All's Well That Ends Well, kikiwiki. I don't know why I'm thinking of that. It's completely pointless. It means nothing as far as I know. One of Shakespeare's invented words. Yes, I think there should be some kikiwiki, but it should be, we should be kicking ourselves back into Europe and kicking ourselves for getting out. But this is what John Donne says: no man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as any manner of thy friends or of thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. And this is part of a devotion on emergent occasions by John Donne. Emergent. There's no more emerging occasion than the advent of Suella Braverman's speedy exit from the Home Office. And of course, it may not happen. It may not happen. She may find herself brought into the formal whole of the House of Commons. She may find herself becoming part of the community rather than being so independent. At the moment, I think she has laboured under the misapprehension that Lady Thatcher, Mrs. Thatcher, picked fights with civil servants, picked fights with colleagues, picked fights with the public, was hell-bent on her own agendum. It's not actually true. Mrs. Thatcher, if you look carefully at what was in the manifesto and what actually happened, Mrs. Thatcher clearly listened. Perhaps not always fast enough, and perhaps not always to the right people. And although there was a lot of damage, and she left a lot of ruination, particularly in mining communities, and although the fracturing of our country between North and South could possibly be dated to the Thatcher era, Mrs. Thatcher was also a great parliamentarian. She respected Parliament. She respected consensus no matter what she said about it. And I think she would have been appalled by somebody who stands at the dispatch box and screams, "Invasion!" Or, as she might have screamed, had people discovered more about her strange speeding ticket, "Evasion!" I think Mrs. Thatcher would have been shocked. Suella Braverman is no more a recreation of Mrs. Thatcher than my left foot. I'm afraid Suella Braverman is looking at the end of her tenure in the Home Office, and it cannot come too soon. But, of course, the question is whether or not the policies that she's embarked on will have to be followed through. I think the policies she's got are the wrong policies, the wrong medicine for the ailment. There is an ailment. There is a problem with protection of our borders. There is a problem with migration. There is a problem with the uncontrolled admission of refugees. The only way to deal with this is to have an international solution. And one of the reasons we're in this problem is because for many years we hid behind the Dublin III Convention. That is no longer possible because we have exited Europe. And we suddenly see what up till now only Greece, only Italy, and more recently Spain have seen, that there's this huge weight on the southern states where refugees have entered Europe. And it is almost impossible to deal with the problem. I was in Greece when this problem began in Greece, and I saw the difficulty of the Greek government. I saw the problems of the police and of the various services to deal with this huge influx of refugees into Greece and into Athens, and the camp in Lavrion, I think, and the miserable state in which refugees were kept because the Greek government didn't know what to do. And that was a result of Dublin III. And meanwhile, we were sitting pretty because we were protected from that. And it took us years before we had any understanding of the problem. Indeed, I would suggest that we didn't anticipate the problem until we'd left Brexit and until we've left Europe. But that is the point. No man is an island entire of itself. We are part of a whole, and we can find a solution to our problems by embracing that whole. Not only Europe, but globally. The refugee problem can be solved globally and cannot be solved unilaterally. We cannot